Good morning, guys. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking all about soft skills that you need as a content creator that most people overlook. So I will be getting ready in this video as usual, but you may notice that a lot of the things I'm talking about in this video are going to be very similar to if you work a corporate job. And that's because content creation is in fact a job. So as we go into this list, I do want you to make note of all the skills that you already have versus all the ones that you can work on, but in a content creator setting. So let's just get straight into it. The first skill that you need as a creator is communication. Now, obviously, you communicate in your content, you communicate to your audience, you likely communicate to your followers on a regular basis. But the reason why communication is on this list is because you need to know how to communicate to brands and to other executives, CEOs, people who are owners of brands that want to hire you to promote their brand. Even if you aren't a creator that works with brands, maybe you are someone who really wants to start your own brand one day, or you're someone who wants to, collaborate with other creators. If you don't know how to communicate with them in a professional way, but also in a way that makes sense and will help both of you achieve that common goal, then there's really no point in you even communicating. So if you're someone that wants to practice your skills of communication, the first thing I would definitely recommend you do is learn how to communicate your ideas very clearly. So knowing how to go through a bullet point list and emphasizing all the key takeaways after that list. Also want to be able to communicate different ideas to people by giving examples of things that you're talking about. So if you're trying to pitch a collaboration with a brand, you want to have a few ideas that you can pitch to that brand and be able to explain them in great detail with examples. A lot of people have ideas for things, but they don't know how to communicate them. They don't know how to make them clear. They don't know how to illustrate them. They don't often provide examples. So there's just a really, really easy way to make sure that everyone is understanding what you're talking about, what idea you wanted to carry out, and what you're trying to do. And that way people can give you feedback on the things that they like and the things that they don't like. You also have to be able to relate and have an understanding of others, especially if you're working with brands, because even though your goal may be to work on a brand partnership and, just talk about the brand's goals may be entirely different from yours. So if you do not take the time to actually understand what the goals are of the people that you are working with, then any collaboration that you work on is really going to be a waste of time and unsuccessful because you don't know what the main point of the collaboration is in the first place. So you really have to take the time to understand what people are trying to get across. Are they looking for exposure? Are they looking for conversion? Are they looking for, brand identity? Like if you don't know any definitions of those words, I go through them in detail in my creator course. It's going to be linked in the description box. But you need to know what it is that the brand that you're working with is looking for, what the people are looking for, and you need to be able to communicate your ideas effectively to those people to have successful collaborations. And lastly, on this point of collaborations and communication, you also need to be able to ask interesting and educated questions. A lot of people in this space ask the really dumb questions. And if you're someone that doesn't believe that there's a dumb question, I promise you the dumb question is the question that's already been answered. So instead of you just asking a very general question, instead opt to ask a question that requires critical thinking from you or from the person you are speaking with. If you don't have critical thinking skills, this is a great time for you to start to develop them. So overall, communication is especially important, and it is definitely appreciated if you are someone that can communicate very, very well to the people that you are working with and to potential clients. So next, and this is also under the guise of communication, is that you need to be able to collaborate with other people really well. So being the diva is not cute, and no one's going to really want to work with you long term because no one wants to work with someone that is hard to work with. You have to think about it in that people have many, many options of other creators to work with. So if you are someone that is difficult, if you're someone that's giving them a hard time, if you're just unreliable, if you aren't, answering your phone, there's so many different things that go into making someone that is easy to work with. And a lot of times people really undervalue collaboration skills. And I'll give you an example. Even though I have not had the most knowledge in a certain topic, brands have come back to work with me multiple times because I am someone that is easy to work with, because I ask questions that involve critical thinking and I demonstrate that I'm willing to learn whatever it is that, they want me to do, that they want to do for this collaboration. When you are a creator that is someone that's hard to work with, it doesn't matter what your skills are. It doesn't matter your knowledge. if you are an asshole to work with, if you are just unreliable, if you're someone that people feel like they cannot count on, or that even if you're just like 50-50, right? Either one day we're going to get someone really great and the next day we're going to get someone really, really shitty. They're not going to want to work with you. They're not going to want to keep coming back for more. So all this really ties into professionalism, but I'm really breaking that down in a way that so that you can figure out how to do this in a content creator setting. The next thing, and this is a really strong soft skill that I would say some creators have, or at least creators that have long-standing careers as a creator are able to do this very, very well, and that is adaptability. So if you've been creating content for, let's say, over 3 months, then you probably notice that there have been algorithm changes within that 3 months, with regardless of whatever app that you were on or whatever app you were creating on. And that is because the algorithm changes all the time. So having a strategy that it requires, you to be mastering that algorithm every single time is not a strategy that's a long-term strategy, because the algorithm is always going to change. So the creators that have been able to have long-standing careers are the creators that are able to adapt to different algorithm changes, different trends, different needs from the audience. So if you were a creator in, 2016, YouTube was super huge. Everyone wanted to be a YouTuber, and that's when YouTube was really popping off, right? Like there was just so much going on 2016 YouTube. But then come 2020, now everyone's on TikTok. And as a creator, you have to be able to adapt to different platforms, to different forms of content, to showcasing different parts of yourself. Like you really have to hone in on all of these skills to be successful long term. So if you're someone that is like, well, this is the way I always done it, or blogging was always my thing, and like now it's just like I don't know what to do. Yeah, because blogging has been out for years. It actually may be making a comeback soon. But if you're someone that's constantly trying to force something that isn't working, then you need to be able to adapt. I have seen so many creators that flatline in their career, and by flatline I mean like they aren't as applicable for different opportunities because they are unwilling to adapt. Like they want to force the thing that has been working for them for the last 2 years, and it's like, honey, that thing is going to get dried up. You have to create a new thing. I don't care if makeup tutorials was your thing and now all of a sudden it's not performing. Find something else. You got to do something else. And the people who do this really, really well are the people that you have seen have decades long careers. Like they have been in this industry, and not just in the industry, but popping off in this industry for a decade or more. Being unadaptable is honestly more of an ego attack than it is a literal attack to you as a person. And I think that a lot of reasons why people don't want to adapt to new times or different changes or anything that's going on that is different from what they previously know is because they don't want to be forced to change, and they want to continue whatever has been boosting their ego up until this time. So if makeup tutorials were your thing and it was taken off and you were popping off and it was just so great, and then all of a sudden no one's watching your makeup tutorials, it kind of hurts that creator's ego to change and do something else because, it was always their thing. It was what they were known for, yada, yada, yada. But again, if you've looked at any creator that has been around for at least 10 years, they have had so many things, so many phases, eras. They have had different content niches. You have just seen them in all walks of life because it is required for you to stay in this industry. And as we move into 2025, we really have no idea what's going to happen to TikTok. I am preparing for a TikTok shutdown. But even if you remember, Vine was like on and popping in, oh my gosh, what year was that? Vine was around, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, right? And all those creators that were so big and popping on Vine had to find other apps. The creators who didn't find another alternative to Vine just ended up not being creators, right? They ended up like going off and doing something else. So again, just another example of how the climate of content creation changes so quickly. It's here one day, it's gone the next. Or, you're doing one thing one day and then, a few months later, you're doing something totally different. It happens, and it is something that you have to be able to continue to do. You have to be able to continue to adapt if you want to be in this career long term. So in my own content creation journey, I have been a creator for going on 5 years. And when I started, I was originally a science creator. So I was a biomedical engineer, I was a scientist, I was talking about my science online. And although it was great for me for a while, I actually felt really burnt out in my job. So it made it even more difficult for me to want to create content after my job because I was already burnt out, thinking about science. So I ended up transitioning to a bit of lifestyle and sustainability. And I was actually talking about sustainability for I would say about 8 to 9 months. It was something that was related to science I was really interested in and that I really enjoyed, but it wasn't something that I could really foresee me taking off in my career. Because not that many people are really interested in sustainability, or at least so I thought, right? So during that time, then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to talk about? And at that point, it was back to science, right? So I didn't really speak about my individual research and my work that I was doing, but I did talk about my life as a scientist and really give it behind the scenes of what it was like to be a Black woman scientist in the industry. And then the world opened up again. So I started creating content in 2020, and then we started to open up again and do more things in, I would say, 2022 for me. So as the world started to open up more, I was like, I am going to start to document my travels as a graduate student that is also, a scientist. So I would talk about different conferences that I was going to. I would talk about different things that I was working on, and also different things to do in that city that I was visiting, for a conference. And that was really great. But what ended up really helping me take off with my content in 2023 was talking about different travel hacks that I learned while I was in graduate school. And I didn't form it that way. I really just formed it as like, this is a way for you to save money to travel. But the reason why I had all that knowledge was because when I was traveling as a graduate student, I had to find the cheapest ways to travel and get to where I wanted to go, because I still wanted to travel. I still wanted to be a part of my regular lifestyle, and I didn't have a ton of money to do it. So I ended up taking off. So my TikTok channel blew up in 2023 talking about travel, and from there I just transitioned all of my content to travel and ended up being a travel creator on social media. So it just goes to show that even as I was creating content, for one thing, I never stopped creating content. I didn't take a extended break during any parts of those transitions. And I also did change platforms multiple times. I was on Instagram, then I was kind of started on TikTok, but I was really on Instagram for most of it. I also had a blog at one point when I was teaching other people how to apply to graduate school. So that was my blog. It's not anymore, but then I really started to hone in on TikTok, and TikTok was where I started to really take off as a content creator, work with more brands, just do a lot of things that I didn't really foresee for myself when I originally started content creation. So because I transitioned into a niche that was much more popular, especially with the rise of, or I guess with the rise of going back outside again, right? It was something that allowed me to take off my content creation career. However, here on YouTube, I talk about content education, right? So how do you actually do all of these things? How do you break it down? How do you become someone that is a content creator and making a full-time income off of it? That's all what I talk about on this channel, and what I really break down in my course too. As you can tell, I have been through many, many journeys throughout my journey of being a creator. So just goes to show, within just 4 years, I have been through a lot. I haven't stayed within the same niche. And it's definitely possible for you to change niches, but the way that you're going to see the most success is by constantly creating, is by being adaptable, is by going to different platforms, and by just being willing to learn something new to have a long-term career. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, and I kind of touched on this earlier, but is having the ability to showcase your critical thinking skills. Now, first and foremost, a lot of people do not have critical thinking skills. This is something that you develop really from problem solving, from reading regularly, from constantly learning new things, and from taking notes and learning from other people, right? You don't always have to be in a specific situation to understand how something works. If you can just learn from someone else and apply that information, then you can also have those same skills, right? So critical thinking is definitely underutilized in life. I think a lot of adults, I know a lot of adults do not have critical thinking skills in today's day and age. So if you are someone who does have critical thinking skills and not only has them, but can showcase them in a creator setting, then you are definitely going to stand out to brands and also be someone that they want to work with. So critical thinking is really thinking outside of the box, taking the information that you know and being able to not only ask questions, but to come up with new ideas and find something new, or just generate new ideas and new thoughts. So what most people do is they will see a trend and they'll be like, oh wow, I'm gonna do that trend. But if you're someone that's a big critical thinker, you're going to take that trend in multiple ways. So you can do the trend itself, right? You can put your own spin and your own twist on the trend, or you can make a multi-part series about the background to the trend. Or, how it came about, what's the significance of it, what's the history of it, if any, right? that trend could be just a simple sound, but a lot of people don't even know where the sounds that are trending on TikTok even come from. So critical thinking is something that is definitely needed in this space, not just in this space, but in all spaces. And the people who have really great critical thinking skills are the people who are able to really monetize their platforms. Like if you are someone that can think 3 steps ahead, you are going to be lifetimes ahead from everyone else in the content creator industry, because people really only do what they see right in front of them. If you're able to take information of what's like popular now and be able to come up with something new in the future, then you are definitely going to be an asset to people in this industry. And the thing about having this skill is that you can really apply to anything in your life. But if you have it as a creator, like I said, there's more opportunity for you to monetize later on down the road, or even just faster than what you thought you could. So that is my list of all the soft skills that will help you stand out as a creator and will definitely come in hand if you are trying to monetize your platform. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and if you have these skills yourself, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.